Metro got that fire, boy.
What's going on? This is Off the Post NHL. I'm Taige alongside Meech, and today we got a special guest in the house. We got Jeffrey Dermott, your resident Senators fan, prospect aficionado, and he's going to give us some prospect breakdowns later in the episode. But Jeff, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good. I'm excited to be part of the podcast. The first episode I was able to watch. It was great, and yeah, I'm excited to talk hockey.
Yeah, for sure, man. And Meech, how are you feeling going into this episode after this weekend?
Man, I got the preseason blues, boys. Like, I'm just waiting for hockey to start, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But other than that, just been chilling. I'm trying to get into football, watching a variety of different sports. So, going to start doing the football Sundays with the boys. So, had a good weekend of learning.
Do you have a football team now?
What? Oh, we have
like a favorite team now.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, we talked about this. I have to be a Cowboys fan with TJ because the similarities to the Leafs are just too perfect.
Oh yeah, right.
I like the most hated team in the NHL, so why not go for the most hated team in the NFL?
Yeah, why not, right?
And one of the most just down bad. Everybody hates the franchise.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. No, so yeah, my weekend, boys. I watched some football with the boys. We made some horrible bets, me and Mitch, but that's neither here nor there. Mitch kind of touched on it, but my weekend was a whole bunch of prayers up for Prescott, but then fucking Cooper Rush clutched up for the boys. So there goes.
You had no faith. You had no faith, bro.
I had
Put that on the record.
Bro. I had no faith.
I came in. I was like, we're going Cowboys. You're like, no chance. They're losing by 20.
I look foolish.
All right, boys. Let's start with the NHL stuff here. So I just wanted to do a quick little segment. I wanted to see what your guys' top 5 offseason for the teams would be. Like, what teams you think had the best offseason? So TJ, I think we should start with you.
All right. I'm going off the cut. I'm going first. I'm feeling pretty nice with my picks, but I don't know if they're like conventional or if I just like went way off the board and I dug into it too deep. But all right, so here we go. So I don't know if you guys I don't know if I fit the criteria properly, but I'm just gonna give it to you straight. I gave number one,
let's hear it. Detroit.
Okay.
Because Detroit was a down bad team, and when I was looking at their additions, so the Yeiser plan, bro, we added Sherratt, Andrew Kopp, and Perron, who are three like veteran Stanley Cup, kind of guys. And then they also added Ville Husso in net to add on to Nedeljkovic. So now they might got a bit more like goaltending. So added some defense, added some veteran forwards, and then some more depth signings were Kubalik, Oli Mata, Robert Hagg. So, I feel like they added a lot of good players there. And then looking at their draft, they actually added Marco Casper at pick 8, and he was the number 5 international skater prospect. He had 11 points in 46 games in the Swedish league, so 7 goals. It's pretty good for a youngster. So I feel like they had just a really, really solid offseason. You guys have any thoughts on me putting them number 1?
I have them in my top 5. They're not number 1 to me. Honestly, I think it's all subjective, right? I'm like what you think, like compared to the last season. So, I mean, I respect it. I was thinking about it, but I didn't have them as number 1. Who you got 2?
Number 2, I got Ottawa number 2.
Okay.
So
okay.
It's kind of perfect that we have Jeffrey here on this episode because I do have Ottawa number 2. So additions, Alex the Brincat, Claude Giroux, like that's just instantly more offense to add with the guys that they already had with, you have Kachuk, you have Stutzel, you have Josh Norris, so it's just to add into that top 6 and pushing guys down into the top 9, just add steps all around the roster. So those additions were obviously big time. And they also, I believe they locked up Tim, right? They re-signed Tim.
Yeah. 8
so
years,
that's
8
part,
years, $8 million.
I count that as part of the offseason, right? Like that's a huge move. And me and Mitch were talking about it before. I don't know if Mitchell has kind of changed his opinion, but when we talked about this before, we were saying like long term, that's going to be like a good deal. You know what I mean? Like in 8 years,
it's going to be a
have him at
steal.
8 million. Like, so
Yeah.
I add that, you know what I mean? And then they also get Cam Talbot to, replace Matt Murray. So we'll see how that addition goes. But I like it. Just the Senators are getting better as a team. Cam Talbot's shown like he can be a solid, consistent goaltender. So yeah.
I have to say, I got to pipe in and say, you got to put some respect on my man Cam Talbot's name, because he's now referred to as All-Star Cam Talbot, because he was an All-Star last season. So I have to mention that. I have some faith in him. I think he's going to be all right. I think he was in a tough battle in the net in Minnesota. It was a tough situation. They had a good team last year. But I do trust him. I think that he'll be consistent enough to the point where he can win us some games. But I'm also, I don't necessarily mean he's going to be an all-star again this year, but we'll see.
Let's hold on here. He's no Matt Murray, Jeff. Let's be real.
He's no Matt Murray.
Of course. No, you know what? That was a wonderful trade. And I just hope I don't wish anything negative on him. I thought he wasn't too bad with us. I just thought he had a very unfortunate series of events. Yeah, he had injuries. His father passed away. I believe it was the beginning of last season. So he was battling quite a few things over the last couple seasons. But I think with where he's at now, if he can stay healthy, I mean, he's won 2 Stanley Cups. Like, you can't really.
Yeah, but it's looking good for the Senators. So I agree with I'm like having the Senators high. So what do you got 3, TJ? You got for 3?
So for number 3 here, I got this is another one where it's just kind of like it's all relative, man. I don't know what you're looking at. For me, it's kind of I took into long-term success as well as like improving from where they were last year. Like if you improve, 3-4 spots in the standings potentially, and then also add youth where you're missing the playoffs, but you're still growing your team forward. So
yeah.
The Seattle Kraken, man. So I got to start with just Shane Wright. They got him at 4, him and Beniers. It's like you look at the center depth now. I don't know if Shane will play next year, but this kind of falls into the category of like, if he does play next year, it helps him for next year. If he doesn't, it helps him for long-term. It's just growing that team. They also added Andre Burakovsky. So like you had Jared McCann be their top scorer last year. Like I assume Andre Burakovsky is going to get that Taige Thompson treatment where it's like, all right, bro, we need you to score, man. You got to put the puck in the net for us. You're going to get all the opportunities. So, yeah. And then they also added Bjorkstrand as well. So it's just kind of like they're adding a lot of these guys who, 60-ish point guys. But remember, Vegas had a bunch of 60, 50, 40 point guys when they get given the top line. Like Burakovsky, we haven't seen him on the first line like in his career, have we? Like, I don't know. He might have played for stretches in Colorado, but it's going to be interesting. I don't know.
I don't actually know that either.
Was it? I have no idea. I think he was second line with Kadri. I might be wrong though. But yeah, no, I'm with you. TJ, I think we're going to have the exact same teams. I think we just have them in different orders.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no arguing from me.
And then I wonder if we're going to have the same one here. This one, maybe it's more for like they got better now, but then they also had a really good draft pick. So I got the Nashville Predators here at number 4.
Okay.
There we go.
So the Nashville Predators, they added Niederreiter and they added Ryan McDonough on a like, I know it's the scraps of McDonough towards the end of his career, but he's still a solid, like he'll play in their top 4. If he's a top 6, he's still a good top 6 player.
McDonough is a good player, bro.
Yeah. So you add him with Yossi and that team, like that's a huge upgrade. Niederreiter just gives them more scoring. Like that team always just feels like they haven't had a scorer. You know what I mean?
Oh, and that Niederreiter contract is good.
It's super affordable, like super.
Yeah,
I don't have the exact numbers.
It's like 4.2 or 4.4, one of those. But for a UFA and for the player, like Niederreiter is a good player, right? So I think that's a steal of a contract.
That was a steal of a contract.
And if you watched like the Tampa series, like McDonough is still a good top 4 defenseman right now. I don't think he's gonna last the 4 years and be as good as he is, but I love the ad for the Predators.
And then also just touching on kind of what I said with the Senators earlier with them signing Tim, is the Predators signed Philip Forsberg for an 8-year.
Right.
There's a lot of like huge speculation around like, is he leaving? Like, you know what I mean? Like what's going on there? They locked him down. They didn't let him go. So that's, I count that as a big addition, like to their offseason, because they were able to keep their guy in house. Because had they lost him, you know, you're scrambling at that point.
He's one of those guys I couldn't picture in another uniform.
Yeah, no,
You
for
know what
real.
I mean? Like it's just it'd be weird seeing it.
You know, it wouldn't be that weird seeing him in a Washington Capitals uniform. That would have been fucking super sick.
I think we might have seen him in a Washington Capitals.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe I don't know how, but
if we want to,
it's coming into my head.
If we want to wind back the clock, just take a quick little footnote here. So that draft, like, yes, it was very bad, but I looked back at this not too recently, and then I noticed something very suspect by the Senators. I believe the Senators drafted like Cody Ceci at 14. The next pick was Tom Wilson.
Oh.
No.
After that was Teuvo Teravainen.
Oh.
After that was Andrei Vasilevsky.
Oh.
And then another good player. I can't remember who it was exactly, but it was just like 4 straight picks. I was like, damn, I always thought the Caps were down bad, but at least we still had Tom Wilson and we didn't draft Cody Ceci.
Wasn't it back-to-back drafts that the Senators drafted Jared Cowan and Cody Ceci?
Yeah, I think Jared Cowan was the year before that. If
both.
I'm not, or was he two? He actually might have been. I don't know. Was it back to back?
Fun
I'm
fact.
not sure.
It was definitely close.
You know who the Leafs took in that draft? Quick question.
What year was it?
Well, I was just wondering if you would know the year. It's 2012.
Oh,
okay.
Obviously.
Yeah. I wanted to see if you knew the draft off your head, but no.
Cody Ceci, Jared Cowan, both Toronto Maple Leaf legends. But who do you got 5, Taige?
Look around. What do you see?
Is.
I got the Caps number 5.
You knew it had to. I knew it was coming.
Had to be.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of this saying called addition by subtraction? Well, part of that is Ilya Samsonov is no longer on our team, and Vitek Vanacek. I mean, Vitek was solid at points, but last year was a down year. And then the big addition of Darcy Kemper, reigning Stanley Cup champion in net. If he just provides consistency, that's what our team needs. Like, we've always been the team that can score. It's just when you score 3-4 goals and then Ilya Samsonov, Vitek let in 5 every other game, it's just it's hard to win like that. We can win in the regular season and squeak into the playoffs at the wild card, but with no consistency, we're not doing anything against Florida, who was a totally beatable team. So that's a huge addition. And then not only do we got that, but we got Dylan Strome and Connor Brown. And I know Backstrom's hurt, like Tom Wilson's hurt to start the year, but like Backstrom's supposed to be back for playoffs. Tom Wilson's supposed to be out for a couple months. Like, if Dylan Strome can step in and be serviceable enough in the regular season, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll discuss that later in this episode, but I like that addition. And then Connor Brown, there's talks. It's Kuzi, Ovi, Connor Brown, top line.
He'd be so good.
I love that.
Like, that's going to be disgusting. And then you move down Tom to play with Mantha and Dylan Strome. So Dylan Strome surrounded by 2 absolute units of humans. So I like that as well. But I love those additions. And really, besides that, like, the subtractions were kind of minimal. Like, Kempney, I believe, went to Seattle. There's a couple other guys, but for the most part, the team basically stayed the same, just minus some injuries. So yeah, I mean, give me your takes if you want to chime in.
I think you got them too low, bro. I know you're not trying to be biased here, but I think Caps are higher. But so we have almost the same list minus 1 team.
Okay.
All right.
You want to get into your first one here?
You know, Jeffrey, stand up. It's I got number 1, Ottawa Senators.
Oh yes.
You're bringing in DeBrincat, man, and that one of the best goal scorers in the league. Ottawa's top 6 can go up against anyone's in the league. Like, they have like a top 5, top 6 in my opinion.
Agreed.
Right? The only thing they're kind of short on is defense. Like, their goaltending solid. I like the ad with forgetting his name now. What was the goal?
Talbot?
Talbot, there it is.
Yeah.
I like the Talbot ad. And I think their top 6 is great. So that's why I think they're just going to be an offensive threat, kind of similar to like what the Leafs were like in their early days. And they made the playoffs, right? So I think offense is the biggest thing in this league right now. So I got Ottawa number 1 because I think they will probably do the best from what they were last year out of all the teams.
Now that we're touching on Ottawa again, I just kind of want to get Jeff's thoughts. Like, you didn't really touch too much on like DeBrincat and Giroux. Like, what do you think? Like, where do you think those guys are slotting in, and what do they like bring to the offense mixed in with the guys you already had?
I think honestly they should both slide in really nicely. I mean, Giroux has continued to have a really good career. I mean, he's been quite consistent, and I think again, like Mitch said, for DeBrincat to have a 40-goal scorer come in, I think it's awesome. I always like to remind my dad that he was someone that said DeBrincat was like too small to play in the NHL possibly, and I said yes, that's why Connor McDavid got drafted, went to the NHL, and then he got like 127 points by himself. And I was like, oh yeah, but no, I think he's an awesome player. I've been a fan of his for quite a long time, especially when he was in Erie. So to have him be in our top 6, it'll be really nice. I'm not sure where they're going to play Giroux yet, because like they're saying center or wing, maybe it's still kind of up in the air from what I've heard. There's no like confirmed sort of position that he's going to be playing, and I think they are probably going to do some mixing and matching in terms of the top 6 as well, so to see who clicks. And in terms of the defense too, I'd say our defense could actually be surprisingly okay, just because I think I would assume the Sanderson is going to step in and play this year, who I'm very excited about. I love his game. He's definitely someone I wasn't like super high on him in his draft year, but the more I got to see him play, and especially watching him at University of North Dakota, I mean, the guy just took over. He's been phenomenal, even in the World Juniors, especially in December, the one that got canceled. Unfortunately, he was phenomenal in that tournament. Every time I watched him play, I was like, wow, this guy should be playing in the NHL already. Like, he's a phenomenal player. So I think him, Jacob Bernard-Docker is another guy who could come in. I think he's now very responsible defensively. He's played with Binghamton, and a guy like Lassie Thompson, is he going to make the bottom pairing? Maybe. I'm not sure. There's still a few question marks in that area, but I mean, all in all, yeah, I think offensively we're about as set as anybody could be, and I'm hoping our defense holds up and Cam Talbot continues to be all-star Cam Talbot.
That's what I was going to ask you, actually. Do you think the Ottawa's going to try to go young on their decor this year and give the guys a chance?
Traditionally, that has not been the case the last couple of seasons, but I think there was just some development that needed to be had, and I didn't really disagree with that. I don't think it's ever a bad thing when you send a guy to the AHL, especially defensemen. Goalies are a whole other story, but especially, defensemen. You just want them to become more responsible and sort of understand the physicality, because really and truly, when I started scouting, I truly noticed watching between like 16-year-old AAA players versus like OHL junior A level players versus American League, East Coast, NHL. There is really a big difference in physicality and speed, and so I think for defensemen to adapt, it takes a little bit longer. So I'm hoping this year those guys are going to get the opportunity that I think that they deserve against Sanderson, Bernard-Docker, and hopefully they can stick with the team this year. But again, I just need them to be consistent. That's all we need. We need goals, we need consistency, and again, all-star Cam Talbot, baby.
I think
high praise for the Senators from UA.
I'm with it. I love the Senators. They're going to be like one of the most exciting teams to watch this year. So that's why I have them at 1, right? I think they give their young guys a taste. I think Cam Talbot is going to be a good 1A. Forsberg had a great season last year when the Senators weren't even that good. I think they'll outscore a lot of the problems. So I have them at 1.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah. So I was also just going to add. That I'm not necessarily sure about the playoffs thing. I still think, because the Atlantic is so tough, I'm not going to put a stamp that like we're in the playoffs, but that's just my personal take with that. Some Sens fans have other things to say about that, but I'm a little bit more humble.
Yeah, I've seen Sens fans go on saying they're going to finish higher than the Leafs. I don't think that's happening.
Oh my God!
Whoa.
Yeah, see,
but
I'm not. I
believe our Eastern Conference rankings had them 5th, just out of the playoffs.
Just out of the playoffs.
Yep.
But yeah, so I have them first. So TJ, we actually have the exact same top 2. I got Detroit second. Their big second line center add with Kopp, really good wing signings, Kubalik, Perron. So it's all the same reasons you had. I think they're going to be a better team. I still have them outside the playoffs. I actually have them below the Senators in my ranking, so that's why I put them below. And I think just the Senators, the future's brighter with their additions, right? So yeah, Detroit 2.
Yeah, not too much to talk on there. I mean, we kind of already touched on it.
We already went over it.
I'm interested to see if number 3 kind of switches it up or what's going on here.
Number 3 is your Washington Capitals, my friend. That's what I'm saying. I think you have them too low, man.
Really?
I think Brown and Strome, they work really well together. I think they work well on the team. I think they're probably going to use the LTIR to their advantage come playoff time. So you're going to have possibly Strome on the left wing and push someone down, or have Strome on the third line center. I think he'll play with Tom Wilson, which would be really good. Because I think he was kind of the secondary assist man in Chicago when he had DeBrincat and Kane, right? So I think Washington, the second line, is a good place to show what he can do in the NHL. And I love the goalie. Yeah, they have a stable number 1 now. Don't really got to worry about the inconsistency as much. So I think Washington, and they almost beat Florida with that team, right? And subpar, like, okay, goaltending. But I think Kemper, if he's healthy, I think they go farther in the playoffs this year.
Like, I agree with you. Like, maybe I was just trying to not be too biased, but I completely agree. Like, I think the ads just improve our forward depth so much. Also, like, it's not this offseason, but Marcus Johansson, I mean, he did resign. So that's kind of a piece as well, which just adds more depth. I feel like our forward depth is super deep, and we have prospects. Defense is, we have guys who can play. Maybe a top 6 guy could be added to help us out at the deadline or something, but got the goalie. Like, we'll see about the backup. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a battle between Fucale and Carter Hutton, I think it was the other guy that we signed, but yeah. Or maybe it was Charlie Lindgren. I can't remember.
It was Lindgren. Yeah.
Lindgren.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's the biggest question, I think, with because obviously Kemper can't play every game. You don't want him to play too much and get injured for the playoffs. So the backup's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
Not too sure about it, but
yeah.
I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to be top 3 in the division. So number 4, still on track here with you. I got the Kraken.
Hey,
I'm counting
Nice.
Shane Wright. I'm counting Shane Wright as part of their offseason, man. I can't believe they got him at 4.
yeah, it's a huge part of their offseason.
And I
was
wanted to ask you this, Jeff. What do you think the chances of him playing first year are?
Well, so what I've heard is that there's definitely a chance. Like, he's gonna get the chance. There's definitely, I think, preseason, no doubt, and then they'll kind of go from there. I think it really depends what kind of role they want him to play too, because I'm not necessarily sure if they want to just throw him like in the top 6 kind of and say, we're not going to be that good, but this is going to gain you that experience, and then sort of push him to maybe do a little bit more than he could. I'm not sure if there's going to be that pressure because they don't have the sort of all-star lineup, or especially they don't really have a lot of center depth. So I think it's in the air still, but personally, I think he could make the team, but he'll most likely be back with Kingston, I would assume.
I'd have to imagine they start out with kind of like what the Leaf strategy was in the Matthews rookie years, where they have the Kadri line first, right? They can, like, Yanni Gourde can go up against the better centers, and then you give Beniers and Shane Wright like the offensive zone starts. Give them some decent line mates, give them like every opportunity they can offensively, and just see what they can do. I think he at least gets the 9 games if he does good in preseason. So Kraken's another one of the fun teams. They stole Bjorkstrand from the Blue Jackets. Absolutely fleeced them. He's going to be a good winger. He can score. I'm pretty sure he led the Blue Jackets in goals last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. And then, like TJ said, with Burakovsky, Stanley Cup experience, I think it'll help the locker room a lot. I think they will be better. Obviously, I don't have them in the playoffs, but I think they will be fun to watch.
That's kind of how I felt too.
Yeah.
And you can't deny that they just got the best defenseman in the league, Michael Kempney. So
Stanley Cup champion Michael Kempney.
Stanley Cup champion Michael
Caps
Kempney.
legend.
Keep him healthy, and just watch him go.
Watch him go. He's going to shut you down. So TJ, 5 is where we switched up, and we actually have a different team. You had the Predators in. They were my honorable mention that I was talking to you about.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't tell you the team, but for 5, I got the Ducks, my friend.
Hey, my
Oh.
closet NHL team, the Ducks. Let me hear it.
But they didn't add too
Closet,
much.
closet.
They didn't add too much, but I think the value they added was really good to put them at 5 with the pieces they already have. Like with Strome, adds that offense, right? Not so much defense, but it just gives them more offensive threats, right? And then Vetrano was really good in the playoffs, right? So it's either they make it and he helps them out a lot in the playoffs, good depth piece, or not, and they flip him to a contender, right? So
Makes
I
sense.
but the big one is Klingberg, right? So it's kind of like a tryout deal. So it's either same kind of thing. Either he helps them get into the playoff and then they could go on a good run with how skilled they are, or if they fall down, that's great assets to trade for the trade deadline.
Flip them.
They eat half the contract, send them to a contending team for like 3.5 or 3.75 or whatever it is, and boom, you could get
And
a
they
first,
just
a second.
Just
Right
get
now.
so
Take
many
your pick.
picks, and Jeff will get into it later, but he was telling us pre-podcast that this draft it's loaded up. So Jeff will touch on that. But like you said, man, like those signings they kind of just make sense in terms of you can flip these guys, or if you do make a playoff push, then hey, you got a young roster, you got Mason McTavish, you got Zegras, like let these guys get some playoff experience and let's see where you can go. You only got so long with John Gibson, so we'll kind of just see where they go. But I don't hate the pick. I like the pick of them 5.
I didn't put them. I put them 5 at different reasons, right? Because it wasn't because I think they're this much better. I think it's the value added, where if they're probably won't make the playoffs again, maybe they will, but if they don't, they get that much more in picks and stuff for literally nothing. It was a 1-year deal. You can get a first out of it, right? So I think
Yours
it's just
kind
good
of
value added.
Yours kind of, yeah, it has compounding value added on later on potentially.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, those are the rankings, but I think we missed obviously because we started the podcast in September, so we missed a lot of the signings. So I think we should actually get to. Do you want to do the RFAs first?
Yeah, we can get to some of these RFAs that signed. So I'll start.
That's where Jeff's
off.
gonna come in.
Yep, I'll start us off with Taige Thompson, and here we have some of the player cards with the advanced analytics. So Jeff kind of is our, let's say our group lead on teaching us the advanced analytics. We know like the base knowledge, but questions that we have, we're going to kind of help everybody learn along with us. So we're going to start with the Taige Thompson contract. So he signed for 8 years at $7.1 million. So what do you guys think of that deal?
Risky. Right.
Yeah, I would say risky as well. In terms of like, again, just looking at his player card right here, his win above replacement 85% is really good. But I don't think he's been at that level while he's been with the Sabres. So I think, I don't know, kind of, I agree with Mitch. Is he's a good player, but is he a $7 million player? Like in 3, 4, 5 years, is he going to be producing at the same rate? I'm not sure. He is a really good finisher. Like he can score, and he's a decent playmaker as well. But I don't know. Is there a star player? Like I don't know. Would you compare him to like a William Nylander in terms of money? Is like, who would you rather pay? I would personally rather pay William Nylander.
My biggest concern is he just a product of the Buffalo Sabres terrible season? He got a bunch of offensive starts. Someone needs to score, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at his efficient defense and it is in the gutter. So like it's kind of a smart move by him and somewhat get the bag now, because I could see him going down. I could also see him going up. So like it's not the worst contract ever. I would just be a little risky. It's a little risky for me.
It's a gamble kind of a contract, because yes, he did have the production this year, but are you planning on keeping Taige Thompson on your top line, like giving him all these opportunities for the rest of his career to make him worth a $7 million player? Or is he gonna in 3-4 years kind of have a little decline, and then now he's a second, third line, because his play style is almost more like a goal scoring physical third liner, but he obviously put up the production to get paid. So, I mean, you can't deny it, but it just seems like Mitchell said, a super risky deal overall. And we'll see this kind of trend throughout the offseason that RFAs are getting paid after they show it like for a season or show it for, a season and a half. Then they're getting paid early versus, which is kind of a more of a basketball, football type of a trend where they're getting paid these big deals early. It used to be in hockey, you kind of had to have these prove it deals unless you were like that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We'll have to see how the Sabres season goes. Like it takes him till he's 32 is the only thing. Like he's 24 now, right? So
yeah. Touching on a couple of the other bigger deals. So we're just gonna stick with a pair of Senators here. So I'll give you one Perfect. At a time, but I'm gonna go with Tim. So we got Tim's card up here. He signed 8.4 for 9 seasons. So what are your guys' thoughts?
Gonna be one of the best contracts in the league in a couple of years, is my opinion. Like I loved him with this boatload of cash. He doesn't even need to go to diving lessons anymore. He can buy the whole trainer right there. Like
shambles.
But I love his game. I think he's a super talented player. Like his numbers on his card don't look the best, but I think that's also a product of the Senators not being very good the past couple seasons. And he stepped in when was he 18 or 19, Jeff?
I believe he was 18.
Okay, but like he came in young, right? And he has looked good from the start. Like every single Leafs game, he's like the guy I look at and I'm like, wow, this guy's good, right?
You see it on the ice for sure.
Oh, 100%. I honestly think it's a little not smart by him. I think if he signed a little bridge deal, he could have got paid, but sometimes that's not like completely what they want. They kind of just want the financial security, right? But it's an amazing deal for the Senators.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing he said too when they asked him is they're like, oh, like what is having this, kind of money mean to you? And he's like, well, it just means my parents don't have to work anymore. So I think from that perspective, yeah, it's just like my man just wanted to get paid, and like I respect that. I remember telling TJ like 3-4 years ago, I was just doing my online watching and prospecting, and I saw this German kid who was getting all this hype, and I was like, who is this kid? And he was like 16, 17 playing in the DEL, which is the German Pro League. And he was playing with Mannheim, who was, again, like their best team. He was like completely quarterbacking the power play. He was generating offense out of chances that just were seemingly null before he ended up touching the puck. Like he's someone that can really create, something out of nothing. I think, he has been a product of, he's been on a really poop team. I have to admit, we have not been good, but I think, long term, I'm not sure if it'll be maybe one of the best contracts in the league. We'll be yet to tell that. I mean, I certainly hope so. But yeah, I've loved him for a really long time too. Like the fact that we even drafted him and got him in the first place was, I think, something that a lot of, Senators fans are really happy with. And eventually I could see him being a total all-star, just somebody that, kind of everyone can rally around. I think he'll probably have an A on his jersey at some point in his career too. And he's just a really likable guy. I just think the intangibles as well, really, I like the contract, I like the player, and I think he's going to be a part of our team for a long time. So
we had mentioned it on the previous episode, how like Tim, like when he was coming into the draft, like our whole group was like rallied around Tim. Like he was like the prospect that we really liked. And it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm not writing off no players' careers. Like guys have comebacks all the time, but yeah. What if LA takes Tim and Ottawa has Quentin Byfield? Like what a different landscape like of the NHL it could be. You never know, right? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, this is an interesting offseason though, guys. Like you think about it, I think because everybody's signing like the 8-year extensions right now. It's really weird. I think they're probably gonna regret it, honestly. I think this might be the summer of like contracts you look in a couple of years, you go, wow, they are underpaid, right?
Which way though? Which way are they gonna regret it? Like you're saying team or player?
No, the player is gonna regret it because the cap is going up significantly in 2025, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 25.
Like say like even a prediction for like Matthews next summer or the summer after, if he signs with the Leafs or if he signs with another team, right? I think he's going 3-4 years, 2 years, maybe. Like I think Matthews is gonna just be really smart with his money. Maybe he goes the 8-year max or something, but I think he's just smart and he's just gonna wait for the salary cap.
So do you think that's why we're seeing this trend of these RFAs signing these like 8-year deals right away? Because the teams are like, this might just be hugely beneficial for us now. The cap's going to go up so much in 5 years. Let's lock these guys down. Kind of like, I mean, you know, they're giving these guys 9 million, 8 million, so they're not screwing them over. No. But like, you know what I'm saying? In a little bit of a way, they're taking some money out of their pockets to help the team in the end, which maybe guys are okay with, but.
Yeah, I think they're over. Like, I think the way the teams are looking at it is let's overpay them a little bit now and then save ourselves when they ask us for 10 to 11 million in the future, right? And
because
then
2025 isn't that far.
No, and the kids are just looking at it like, oh my God, 8.4 million. Like, they're like, yeah, let's do it. Right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I love the contract. I think it's going to be really good.
I think everybody's happy too. Because I was going to say, I think the agents and the players are getting paid. So I don't think that they're too upset with all this money being thrown out either at the moment. Apparently it's actually been, like Mitch was just saying, I've heard that it's been a bit of a surprise to some guys. Have been like, apparently I don't think Tim was expecting to be offered even a deal like that. I know Josh Norris was maybe a little bit different, but in terms of the Sens, I know Tim Stutzel was not expecting a deal like that. I think right away, I think he was expecting them to offer him a bridge as well. When they offered him that, he just couldn't turn it away. So
for sure.
Speaking of Josh Norris, though,
yeah,
let's
there you go. Perfect transition. So 8 years, 8 million. Ottawa's got the major bag alert on lock this offseason. So what are your kind of thoughts? I'll hand it to Mitch. Let me know what you think of this deal.
I'll start it off because honestly, did he play full season, Jeff?
I don't know how many games he played
because
he was injured at some point.
Because I don't think I saw him very much. So I'm going to kind of leave this to you. I don't know if you've watched him very much, TJ. I've seen his stats and I've seen a little bit of highlights. Like, he looks like a good player, but I actually haven't like seen him enough to really make a full comment on it.
Oh no, he was injured last year for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Leaf games they played, I don't think he was playing. So I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave this analysis to Jeffrey. I don't know if you have any takes, TJ.
Well, I can just quickly say that he obviously had an amazing year last year, but it also just kind of falls into the bag of like his production last year warrants him getting 8 million, but does it warrant 8 years like down the road? Is he going to continue that being that $8 million player? That's what the Sens are obviously banking on, that he is an $8 million player down the road and that he'll become an even more valued player, that they're getting a steal of a contract. But you look at his charts here, I mean, 94 win above replacement seems ridiculous. Like, maybe Jeff can touch on a bit more of these stats and just give his thoughts on the deal. But I it's just kind of, it's like I have to wrap my brain around this offseason where guys are getting paid like instantly after their one breakout season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's another gamble.
No, it definitely is. I would say actually, you could say that this one is maybe even because of the player card is obviously, it looks a little bit better than Tim's does, obviously, but it definitely could be a little bit more of a gamble. Just again, like you said, TJ, the term on the contract, in terms of how I feel about it personally. I really like Josh Norris. Again, he's a good guy. I actually met him at the 2019 NHL draft. I met him and Brady. Awesome. It was really cool. Actually, I saw Brady and I went to go take a picture with him, and then Josh Norris was like standing there and I didn't even notice him because he had his back to us. And then Brady's like, "Oh, you want to get this guy in the picture too?" And he like grabbed Josh Norris. So
that's sick.
Yeah.
Now that guy's a $64 million man.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, well, I knew who he was at the time, right? But I feel like a lot of other people didn't. But I was like, hell yeah, I didn't know Josh Norris was. Yeah, his back was to us. But anyways, no, yeah. In terms of how he is as a hockey player, I thought he was great in college too. I was really happy that we were able to get him. Shout out to the San Jose Sharks. But yeah, I mean, I think in terms of, again, like you look at his finishing, 97%, the guy can score goals. He's a sniper. Again, he's another guy. He can just sort of create offense out of nothing. I think having like him and Tim and Claude and Alex kind of play together is really dangerous. And I think he, again, is like, is he going to perform this way for his entire career? I'm not sure. I can't personally touch on it. Obviously, nobody can look into the future, but I mean, in terms of what he's done so far, I do think it sort of warrants that, and it's sort of also bets that he's going to continue to put up those sort of numbers. But maybe I'll go out on a limb and say I think he could be a 30 goal scorer, for the rest of his career if he stays healthy, if things go okay. Maybe that'll like bite me in the
Another
long
one
run.
of the most wild things on his card. Sorry to cut you off, Mitch, but
You're good.
the 98% competition.
That's exactly what I was going into.
It's absolutely mod. And maybe that kind of explains a bit more of the his EV offense being 37%. Like, I don't know if you can touch on maybe why that would be so low. Is it just he was scoring so much on the power play last year? Is that just kind of what it was?
Yeah, he seemed to really be the guy that we kind of gave the go-to to be like, all right, if we need a goal, he was kind of the guy. And obviously maybe that's going to change. Obviously, you have a couple new additions, but that can score a lot of goals as well. But yeah, no, he was pretty much just a sniper for us last year. That was kind of how we used him, especially on the power play. He was number one power play, and I think, again, I hope he continues to get that chance even with the additions, because I think that he can continue to provide and he'll continue to score. Yeah, and again about his competition, yeah, he is a hard-nosed player. He's not like the biggest guy, but certainly he's not an easy player to play against, and I don't think his defensive stats necessarily do his defense justice. And I'm not saying he's like Patrice Bergeron, but I think
it's definitely
very
because of the level of competition, the line matching that they're doing with him. Like, his defense is going down because he's going up against the 98th percentile of players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is I think for him, if he continues to get those chances, I think he'll continue to thrive because he'll be playing with players that are as skilled as him. And again, adding the two guys that we did, I said a million times, but adding them to the sort of mix that we have, I think is kind of exactly what I wanted to see as a fan. And I think, yeah, for him, I'm happy he got paid, and I think he'll be a good player. I'm excited to see what he's going to do for us, and let's hope that he continues to produce at that level.
Yeah, don't worry.
I don't know, Mitch, if you had.
So Jeff, I want to end it with this part. With this, let's add some fuel to the fire here. You taking Josh Norris or Nick Suzuki?
That's tough. I mean, Nick Suzuki is definitely a better all-around player. I think Josh Norris's offensive
game.
I was gonna say is his offensive game, at least to me, and maybe it's not because of this, but maybe it is because of this. He played in college too, so I think he had he got to play against men. So I think him sort of having that ability to translate his offensive game a little bit easier than Nick, I think sort of made sense to me. But again, down the road, I have no idea. I kind of really like both players too. Like I live in Owen Sound sometime part-time. My family's a cottage there, so I love Nick Suzuki. He's like a legend. Yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you. I could not pick between the two. Maybe Josh, just because he's a.
I wanted a clip there, Jeff. You needed to come on to be like, "Oh, Nick Suzuki or sucks. Josh Norris smokes him." But sorry, we can get more clips another time.
Connor McNagle's better than both.
There's the TikTok clip, guys.
There it is. That's it right there.
All right, so I was gonna say we should probably move on to the next one that we have here is Robert Thomas. Let's just group them together. Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, both identical contracts. What was it? Was it 8 times 8 as well?
8 times 9 for one, and maybe 8 times 8 for the other, but same deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What are we thinking here?
I mean, I think they're both really good players. They're integral parts of the team, so you had to lock them up, and it just kind of goes along with the trend from before. Like, it seems like I believe these guys both signed kind of semi after the other deals have been signed here. So I think it was just kind of the market was set. It kind of set them up they had similar-ish stats, like 60, 70-ish points, both like really good players, but, getting paid early. And maybe Kyrou and Robert Thomas might have proved it a little bit more with playoff success and stuff like that versus some of the other guys we talked about before. But yeah, the RFA is getting paid early, and it's just kind of the way it is now, at least for the time being.
Yeah, so identical contracts, 8.125 for 8 years for both of them. I don't know. It's kind of the same explanation for every team to me, where it's just they had great years offensively. You're taking the gamble. They're pretty young. I personally don't see anything wrong with it, right? What are your thoughts on the players, Jeff?
Yeah, same thing. I
Not much to say.
wouldn't have too much to add. Just I think they're both, yeah, like TJ said, they're both kind of integral parts of that Blues team. And yeah, I like Robert Thomas. He plays a really solid game, and I think he's someone that most teams would have wanted to lock up.
Yeah.
Especially with the kind of experience that he has.
Mhm.
So
Get him locked up just because he has that playoff experience. You don't want that guy to get an offer sheet. You don't want Kyrie to get an offer sheet. Those guys are integral parts of your teams, much like the other guys on this list as well. But so now I guess we kind of just touched on the RFAs, and I know we only hit a few, but those are all the big time kind of long-term deals that got signed. There might be a few more, but you kind of get the gist of just the free agency RFA landscape has changed. Like these guys are getting paid, trying to save a little money before this cap goes up, etc. So it's kind of interesting to see. But if we look at some big time free agent signings that we got here this year, I guess I'll start off with the one, like we can kind of touch on the whole story, the whole mystery that was going on of Johnny Gaudreau. So what do you think about that whole saga, Jeff? I'll let you lead it off, Jeff. What do you think about that saga that went on?
well, I mean, from what I heard, it seemed like I think he just wanted to go back to the US.
Mhm.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't actually think that he like disliked Calgary, or that there was, from what I've heard, there was no beef, like there was no real bad blood. He wasn't like necessarily planning to leave, I don't think, but once the opportunity kind of came up, I think he just was like, you know what, sort of it's a change of scenery. It's if you think about it, to me, it made sense, because people are like, oh, well, why would he do that? But a lot of people who are fortunate enough to like have a really cushy, office job or something, is like, you're gonna, no matter what job you have, actually, you're gonna switch jobs sometimes, no matter, you maybe not switching professions, but it's pretty common that most people don't work at a place for like 40 years anymore. A lot of people will work at different places. And so I think it's kind of the same thing. He's like, you know what, I just want to experience something new. And maybe he doesn't like Alberta. I'm not sure, I don't know, but
No, but you're right. It's
who
definitely a good
does like
analogy of just like career movement is kind of like, that's the vibe now, like career movement, career flexibility. Like guys like to have control, and maybe he just wanted to make the decision himself, right? Like didn't want to be pigeonholed to just stay in the same place. Like, hey, each guy has their own reason.
I don't know what happened this offseason, but this signing feels like it was 2 years ago. My mind is just
it is weird.
I'm so far moved on from Johnny Gaudreau. I have nothing to add here.
It's just kind of like, it was just so crazy that like for me, I'll touch on it, like that the Flyers just like, oh no, we're good, man. Like we just don't got enough money. Like it's kind of tough for us. Like it's just like, wow, you could have had the biggest fish of free agency, but you just don't even have anything in order to do so.
Can we just have a moment of silence for Flyers fans having to put up with this?
Like,
on God, for real.
Chuck Fletcher,
sorry, guys.
what are you doing, man?
So now that we're here, I'll just I want to throw this to you, Mitch, quickly. So we kind of just mentioned Johnny Gaudreau, so I'm just gonna throw this, just ramble on for a minute or two. Just give us all your thoughts. Calgary, you got Kadri, you got the trade with Huberdeau and Tkachuk. Just kind of ramble on about all that, and then we'll get Jeff's thoughts as well, and then we can kind of transition and move on from there. But
what a roller coaster of emotions for Calgary fans this year, man. You go from losing in the second round to the Oilers. That's just heartbreak. You're bitter rivals, tough. Right? You're hurt, and then you're going into the draft and stuff. You're worrying, oh my God, what are our players going to do? Johnny walks last minute because he was torn up. Like he didn't know what he wanted to do, but he decided to leave last minute. They lose him. Days or a week later, Matt Tkachuk requests a trade. But Tree Living, I think he pulled a masterclass. By getting that trade done with Florida and getting the assets he was able to get back for Matthew Tkachuk, a player who asked to be traded and only gave like a list of 4 teams. tidy work. I think with Huberdeau, Uyghur, Kadri, I think they added another depth piece. I think no, that was Colorado. They just got somebody else, but I honestly think for next year only, they're a better team. I don't know if you guys disagree with me. I think their depth is better. I think Kadri at the second line center gives them the depth they need because they were kind of a one-line team last year, right? But I think they have a better chance of making it farther in the playoffs next year. I love the work that True Living did.
I agree. I mean, I don't think he could have really done anything else. You're right. I mean, he sort of did his absolute best. He kind of did the most, you know. He sort of was dealt the cards that he was dealt, so he was sort of like, all right, screw it, let's do something with this. And he certainly, I think he did improve the team too. Like, I don't think a lot of people have said that, but that's actually a really good point. Is like when you look at it, especially their depth, I mean, I think they're better equipped to play like this team playing Edmonton. I think that's a better series this year, right? I don't know if you guys would agree.
I agree.
I think I think that's certainly like it's certainly a very interesting few weeks that they had there, or month that they had there. But in the end, they kind of were like, well, we got to do what we got to do. And they've improved the team somehow. So, I mean, again, we'll see on the ice, but I think this team is better equipped for the playoffs. I think this team could probably have more wins. And I think it could be for a couple of years. I don't even necessarily think just this season, maybe the next couple of years too.
2 to 3, yeah.
I mean, Huberdeau, if you look at his numbers too, he's a guy, most players who project the way that Huberdeau is projected, they end up continuing to produce well into their 30s. So I think that he's going to be fine at least for another few seasons. Uyghur's very underrated. Kadri, great player, Stanley Cup champion. Shout out to Nas. Yeah, so
Leafs legend.
Leafs legend, yeah.
But
and I'm probably the only Sens fan that doesn't hate the Leafs, and I'll make that statement right now.
We're together, my friend. But my thing with Huberdeau, like I'm with Jeff on this, where he projects well because he's probably the best playmaker in the NHL right now, and that's like one of the last things players lose as they age, right? He will always be that guy to dish the puck, right? He might lose a little bit of speed, put him on the power play. He's going to be dishing. His probably that's why Joe Thornton made it till he was 40, right? Just an amazing passer, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think he projects well. And can you guys name me 5 teams with better defense decor than the Flames? I don't know if you can.
I mean,
yeah, honestly, don't know.
You'd have to be making some bold arguments. So
yeah
no. That's
I put him top 5, man. Like I'm really happy with the Flames. Uyghur is a great ad. Huberdeau is good. I think Elias Lindholm was one of the most underrated players in the league.
Oh yeah, I love him. Great player.
I'm excited to watch the Flames this year.
So I feel like that kind of knocked out some of the big RFA free agent trade kind of moves. So do we want to get into looking at maybe next off season's way too early next off season scouting report?
In what way? What do you mean?
I mean, I want to hear what my buddy Jeff, our scouting aficionado, what he thinks about some prospects for next year. Now that we're, the theme is the off season, we're still in this preseason blues period. We're trying to look ahead now. Way too early scouting report. Let me see what we're thinking of these prospects before they go into their draft eligible year.
Just pulling up some notes here that I got.
Scouting aficionado.
Yes.
Definitely an exciting draft, though.
Oh, dude.
I think this draft could potentially be. I said it to Taige. Actually, I said it to both of you earlier. The draft could potentially be one of the best drafts of the 2020s, like of the decade. And that's very premature to say, but in terms of the top end talent, you really can't go wrong with any of the players that are going to be available. And so specifically, like what I have is, again, everybody sort of has a pretty consensus top 3. And I did my top 3 based on, I think, the 3 best players in the draft, not who I think is going to get drafted first or who will go where. But my top 3, I have Bedard, Michkov, and Fantilli. I think Michkov is certainly not going to get drafted over someone like Adam Fantilli just because of the
Russia.
The Russia situation, which I'll touch on a
and the
little bit.
injury right now. He's dealing
Well,
with that
and
injury
also
right
his
now.
injury. Yeah, he got absolutely destroyed in the
Prayers
KHL
up.
game. Yeah,
He could slide.
So yeah, and that's the thing is, who knows now really with that, and so that's why I just kind of did my 3 best players. If you're just looking at raw players,
TJ all of a sudden wants Samsonov back for this season.
Yeah, right.
So you can lose more games, bro.
Nah, bro, he's gonna slide to us, just like you said. He's gonna slide.
I don't. He's not gonna slide. He's not sliding that far. But
32 Stanley Cup champs.
Those are your 3.
Matvey.
Do you have any depth prospects people should look out for that you've seen or just that you're interested in right now?
Yeah, so I have 4 OHL notables that I wrote about, just 4 guys that I was actually able to watch either in their draft year or in their bantam years or also in the OHL. Most of them I've seen a little bit of all 3 leagues. There's actually some really good talent in the OHL this year, and especially I'll start with number 1 is Cameron Allen. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. He's right defenseman. He was taken 3rd overall in the OHL draft. He's absolutely amazing in both ends. He's a fantastic skater. He's really strong and physical. He's a very feisty player, but at the same time, I mean, the guy puts up points. He's just one of the best defensemen in the draft, if not the best defenseman in the draft coming in. I remember watching him at 14 in AAA and just being like, wow, this kid is going to be in the NHL one day. Like, you could just tell. Yeah, like, there's some of those guys that you just watch and you're like, wow, there's the maturity, the poise, the instincts of the way that he plays. He was just someone that I was really enamored with, even when he was 14. And by the time it was his draft year, I was like, yeah, this kid will be very special. So,
sorry, what team is he on this year?
He plays with the Guelph Storm, and he was just at the Hlinka Gretzky tournament with Canada too. He was the captain. The one thing I will say about him, and if he ever listens to this, my man, you're a wonderful player. No knock on you personally. I have heard that there's maybe some discipline issues there, although he was chosen as a captain for Team Canada. So I'm not sure if Hockey Canada.
What's Hockey Canada's leadership?
They make some
right
questionable.
now?
Yeah, they make some questionable decisions sometimes. But I would like to think that, whether it was the coaching staff or management within the Hlinka Gretzky team or camp, were like, this is the guy that is going to go out on the ice and set an example every day for all these players. And I think, that says something. So he definitely, he's not afraid to get into fights either. Like, he's just he's such an all around player that I think any team that drafts him will be really lucky, and they're going to be really happy with him. And hopefully he continues to do what he's doing, because he's a phenomenal player.
Where do you project him?
I'm definitely glad that you brought him up, though, because I feel like I've heard about the offensive talent in this draft, but like the defense has kind of been like slept on. So I'm glad you're like bringing up a little bit of defensive talent here.
Yeah, I should say that it is definitely forward heavy too. Like, a lot of really good drafts end up being forward heavy. Well, I guess that's not necessarily true. You have drafts where you have multiple really high end defensemen drafted in a row, but this draft is definitely offensive heavy. And that would lead me to my second pick, the guy. And also, sorry, Mitch, you asked where I think Allen will go.
Where you project him go, yeah.
So definitely within the top 10. Most people have him ranked at about 7 or 8.
Jeez, okay.
And that just shows you he's the number 1 ranked defenseman unanimous in this draft at this point.
And he's going 7 or 8.
And he's going 7 or 8. I think he could maybe sneak into the top 5 if a team that finishes at 5 is like, look, we love him. He's going to be awesome with the fans. He could be an assistant captain, maybe a captain one day. He's going to get us a ton of points, but he can also play on the penalty kill. Like, the guy just does everything at a high level. And so, I mean, yeah, I think probably in that like 5 to 7 range, I could see him going. But yeah, it really just depends on where teams have him at personally.
That makes sense.
And number 2, I would go with Callum Richie. So I saw him play with the Oakville Rangers in his draft year. He's another really good player. He's really big. He's 6'2", 187. He's a right shot centerman. He was number 2 in that same OHL draft. He's a phenomenal player. He played with the Oshawa Generals last year. He's a big player. He's got tons of skill. He's a very fluid skater. He creates a ton of space for himself and his teammates. He's got all the tools that you kind of want to have for a guy to be drafting or to be drafting a guy for your team. So he's someone that. Sorry,
is he related to Nick Richie?
I actually am not sure. I don't believe so.
Okay,
But maybe we'll have.
Don't be.
Yeah,
please.
let's hope he doesn't have any of those genes in him. But and then so number 3, I have Colby Barlow, my man, the man, the myth, the legend. Colby Barlow, 6'1", 187, left winger, left shot. He was taken number 8 in the OHL draft by the Owen Sound Attack. Why did he drop so far in the OHL draft, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you, it was because COVID happened and because they didn't get to play. So for whatever reason, he was like, him and Cam Allen were probably the number 1 and 2 ranked like U14 prospects coming out of Bantam, AAA. And then the COVID year happened, and I don't know, he just sort of fell off people's radar. Some teams in Eastern Ontario got to play, so I think that maybe pushed him down the line a little bit because they're like, at least we got to see these guys play, so we're going to take the chance on him. Owen Sound drafts him at 8, gets their first 30-goal score as a rookie. He's the highest goal-scoring rookie in Owen Sound history. Jeez. He's probably at number 11 right now on most draft boards, 11, 12, 13. And I mean, he's a great skater. He's big. He's got a pro-ready shot. The guy just fills pucks in the net. Like he's an animal.
I will say this is one of the players that I actually did watch because my brother knows Ethan Burroughs, who also played for the Owen Sound Attack, and Colby Barlow. Like from day one, this kid was playing top 6, and he just like, dude, like from watching him like early on to like last season as well, it's like this guy he stepped in and didn't miss a beat from being like a young player. So he's got such a good offensive bag. Like like Jeff said, I'm shocked this kid fell to 8.
I think I'm the most qualified to talk about it here because I actually drafted him in my NHL 22 draft, right? And he actually turned out pretty well. He's a good second line player for me. So I think
top 6 forward.
I think that trumps your guys' cards there. I don't know.
Medium top 6 forward or
he was, and then he grew, bro.
Oh, we love to see it.
He went to a high top 6. He went to a high top 6, bro.
Comment down below if you want to see NHL 23 content. I'll buy a PS5 if you comment down below and the comment gets 10 likes. I will literally buy a PS5. So
I'm making 10 accounts.
All right.
All right. Do you have any more, or is that wrap up your
I was gonna add quickly. I do have one more prospect, and I will just say to close out Colby Barlow. He was also at the Hlinka Gretzky tournament. Same as Callum. All these guys were at the tournament. But again, not another great. I think he had like 3 or 4 goals in 4 games. So because of course he did. Also, shout out to Ethan Burroughs for getting his assist. Was it yesterday or the day before in prospect camp at the Panthers? Yeah, it's awesome. And Denny Gore as well. Shout out to all my Owen Sound guys at NHL prospect camp.
Those are our guys.
The last guy we'll talk about, who is one of the most interesting prospects of this draft, Quentin Musty. He was drafted by Sudbury. He was the number 1 player drafted in the OHL draft in this same draft year as the other 3, sorry. Yeah, he's 6'2", 205, so he's another big guy, big body. He didn't perform as well as the other guys did in terms of the other rookies. He was someone that I think he's a little bit more raw in terms of sort of all aspects of his game. He's not as responsible defensively, I think, as some of the other guys in the draft, even like a Colby Barlow, who I said is just like a pure sort of power sniper. I would say is even, a little bit more responsible defensively, just to compare him to another left winger that's his age and is draft eligible, playing in the same league. So I think for him to have fallen maybe to like the 15 to 20 range was very surprising. But after I watched a little bit of video on him, I didn't see his offensive game transition as much into the OHL, although he did have a good rookie season. He will still be a first-round pick. Certainly, he's a fantastic player. He's super creative. He's got insane hands. And I think that's really what sort of propelled him to the top of the OHL draft, just because most teams were probably watching him and saying like, wow, the skill that this guy possesses is really just unmatched. And maybe he lacks a little bit of defensive responsibility at this moment, but he's someone who I think he may jump up in the draft too. You never know, right? It's really where teams have
those raw
guys placed.
potential guys, right? Those raw
Yeah.
potential guys kind of sometimes they fly up the boards. If a coach says, "Oh, let me mold him, I can mold him. He's got all the tools, he's got the frame, but I can teach him the fine details." Or sometimes those guys are like, it's not worth it. We have the more NHL ready guy. We have the more sound defensive guy. We're gonna go with him. But yeah.
And sorry, I would just say my last note is the whole Meech situation. So now the injury does sort of throw things into sort of a parallel universe. It's like, well, what's going to happen now, and where is he going to go? But for me, I think he could still get drafted a little bit. Okay, he's not going to the Cavs. It's not happening. We're going to say it right now. He will not be a Washington Capital at any point in his career, unless
clip it.
Oh, 10 years from now when he signs with the Russian God Squad
with 50-year-old Obi.
Yeah.
No, but there is something that he can sort of bypass if he becomes healthier sooner rather than later, and teams want to bring him over before his 4 or 5 year contract ends, which is also a huge thing. Even before the Russian invasion of Ukraine was a very big problem for a lot of NHL teams, being like, well, why did you sign for 5 years? Like, you're getting drafted next year, man. You're probably going to be good enough. I mean, he broke Ovi's U16 goal scoring record in Russia. He scored 70 goals in 30 games. Sorry, 70 goals in 26 games, just to reiterate, against the best AAA players in Moscow. And basically that Moscow league is, they bring from all over the country the best Russian players, and they play in this league. And yeah, so I think he has one of the most untapped potentials of any player I've seen. And
yeah,
I mean, really, again, I was going to say there's something called the Russian Central Registry. And if you contact them, NHL teams can it's sort of their liaison between them and KHL teams and the Russian government. So if there is some sort of deal that can be worked out, maybe, towards next year or in a couple seasons, who knows, he could come before then, and that could persuade teams to pick him even higher, maybe. But yeah.
Hopefully. Well, thanks for that, Jeffrey. We're going to have you on throughout the season, obviously giving us your updated prospect rankings. We're actually going to have you do your mock drafts throughout the season as well. So maybe 3-4 times a year, Jeffrey will come on with his
Jeffrey
well, he's going to be on a lot, but he's going to be doing his
2.0.
mock draft. Yeah. So, but to end the pod here, guys, I didn't tell you what it was, but we have a quiz for both of you. Okay.
Oh no.
So it is going to be a rapid fire quiz, and it's based on all the teams in the league, right?
Are we teammates? We're teammates?
You're teammates.
Okay.
So you have two options. I can either give you 5-10 seconds per team, or we can set a full limit, 3 minutes. You can rapid fire. You can pass teams. If you say pass, I'll go to the next team, and you can come back. How do you guys want to do it?
Well, okay, yeah. I like the pass. So 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
3:30.
That's 10 more
I'm
seconds
cool
than there is a team in the league. So,
all right. So your quiz is franchise leading goal scorers.
Oh no.
All right.
Oh, I'm so bad with this stuff.
We got this, Jeff. We got this. You'll help me out on the ones I don't know.
You have to work together. All right.
Do you have them pulled up?
I have them all here ready.
Okay.
I have the list ready, guys.
We got this, Jeff.
All right.
So you guys let me know when to start.
You ready, Jeff?
I'm ready.
All right.
All right, I'm ready.
Starting now. Start with Anaheim.
Team Mussolini.
Correct. Arizona.
Shane Doan.
Correct. Boston Bruins.
Is it Ray Borg?
It is not Ray Borg.
Phil Esposito.
Nope.
Oh my God, pass.
So Buffalo Sabres.
Is it Gilbert Perreault?
Correct. Calgary Flames.
Oh, I have no idea.
Calgary Flames, guys. Come on.
McDonald?
No.
Jerome
again.
Let's go.
Carolina Hurricanes.
Is it Brindamore?
Nope.
Ron Francis?
Chicago Blackhawks.
Makita? Stan Makita?
Nope.
Oh, well, who am I thinking of? Roenick?
Nope.
All right, pass.
Colorado Avalanche.
Sakic.
Correct. Columbus Blue Jackets.
Rick Nash.
Nash.
Yep. Dallas Stars.
Mike Badano.
Yep.
Great one.
Detroit Red Wings.
Eisenman.
Stevie.
Detroit Red Wings.
Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe. Edmonton Oilers.
Gretzky.
Gretzky.
Goat.
Florida Panthers.
Hornquist.
Nope.
Huberdeau.
Nope. Close.
Fucking Barkov.
Barkov. Los Angeles Kings.
Is
Kopitar.
it?
Nope.
Robitaille.
Robitaille.
Oh, good one.
Minnesota Wild.
Parise? No,
Nope.
he wasn't there for very long. The
Gabrick.
brother Sakic.
Gabrick.
Oh,
Montreal Canadiens.
Guy.
No.
Rocket.
Rocket.
okay.
Nashville Predators.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Come on, guys.
Pass.
Come on. Just happened. Okay.
pass.
New Jersey.
Parise? Kovalchuk?
Nope.
Niedermeyer.
Nope.
Oh, he wasn't.
Eliash?
Eliash. New York
Oh.
Islanders.
Trottier? Clark?
Nope. One. Islanders.
Pass.
Pass. Yeah.
New York Rangers.
Messier.
Nope.
Gretzky.
Nope.
No, he wasn't.
Goals.
Pass.
Pass.
Brian Leach. Was it Brian Leach?
Nope.
Okay, pass.
Ottawa.
Danny. Alfredson.
Yep.
Flyers.
Bobby Clark.
No.
Brett Hall.
Oh.
No. I don't even
Other
know this
Clark.
guy. No. Don't even know this guy.
All right, pass.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
Crosby.
No.
Lemieux.
Lemieux.
Lemieux. San Jose Sharks.
Joe.
Nope.
Marlowe.
Patrick Marlowe.
Marlowe. Seattle Kraken.
Oh.
McCann.
McCann.
Yeah.
St. Louis Blues.
Terry
That's
Snipe
Hall.
Show.
No.
Hull.
Hall. Yep. Tampa Bay Lightning.
Stammer.
Stammer.
Bammer. Toronto Maple Leafs.
Sundin.
Sundin. Vancouver Canucks.
What's his name?
Linden. Trevor Linden.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Henrik.
Oh.
Daniel.
Daniel.
Oh, there you
Vegas
go.
Golden Knights.
William
Marchese.
Carlson.
Marchese.
Oh.
And the timer is up.
Oh.
what-
We got
who
through
did-
most of them.
Who
What
did
other
you
teams do
miss?
we
We would have got Ovi.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you would have got. You had Ovi and Winnipeg left, so you didn't get
Ovi and
Thompson.
Kovalchuk.
Bruins. Was John Buck? I don't know who the hell that is.
What?
545 goals.
Oh my
Was it
god! What a
Johnny
legend.
Busick, you mean? Johnny
Busick, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
John
yeah,
Busick.
Busick.
Okay,
He is
that's okay. I was like, who's John
Busick.
Buck?
My bad. Pronounced it wrong. You
Yeah.
missed him.
Yeah, that's okay.
You missed Bobby Hall on the Blackhawks.
Oh, he was on the Blackhawks. God damn.
Yeah.
You missed Philip Forsberg on the Predators.
I know. We just panicked.
Mike Bossy on the Islanders.
Oh my God. We bricked that.
That was a gimme.
New York Rangers. Rod Gilbert.
Who?
Yeah, not a
406
Rangers
goals.
fans flame us, bro. That's not a ton
406.
though.
And same with the Flyers. Bill Barber.
Oh, it's just
Yeah.
Bill Barber.
Yeah,
Bill Barber,
hockey legend.
420.
400 goals. Like, come on.
And then you would have got it, Ov and Kovalchuk. So you guys passed. You guys did really good.
Oh, we definitely would have
Proud of
passed.
yourselves.
Way better than I thought I was gonna do.
You did
personally.
Let's go, bro.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did. good.
Jeff came in clutch. You both came in clutch.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely, the ones that we didn't know, the other person picked up the slack. That was a fun
Yeah.
quiz, Mitch. I'm glad you picked that
Yeah,
up.
we will definitely return with more quizzes.
Yeah, we'll return with more. If you enjoyed the episode, share it with a friend, like the video, and subscribe with notifications on YouTube. You can listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you add and download the podcast there as well.
And if you want more NHL content, check our clips playlist. We're going to be posting all of our hot takes from the pods from there.
And if you're into NFL content, check out the Cheeseboys NFL Podcast, where I'm a host alongside my Packers friend Sam. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.